For your NetLogo assignment this week, you have been given a flag that has a diagonal stripe on it. The example I will use here has two diagonal stripes on it, one going from the bottom left to the top right, and then from the top left to the bottom right. Your flag additionally has other stripes in it. Most flags have three vertical stripes with a diagonal stripe going across it. Some might only have two, but on your flag you're going to have to include those additional stripes. Since you already learned how to do those from previous NetLogo lessons, I'm not going to include that in this video, those additional stripes. I'm just going to focus on creating the diagonal stripes here. And again, what we're looking at for the reason we're doing the diagonal stripe here is to utilize that y equals mx plus b, that's the slope-intercept form of an equation or an inequality, in something that you will need to use later. So we're looking at how to convert this math into something usable for digital arts. So I picked this flag of Scotland here to show you, and one of the reasons why is this flag will be mentioned in a video that we'll be watching next week when you create your own flag. So like you've done before in previous lessons, you need to bring up the NetLogo web, and we're going to create a setup button, excuse me. So the first thing I need to do is I'm going to go up here in the upper left hand corner where the padlock is. I'm going to click on the padlock, and I'm going to right click in this upper corner of the green area, this upper left corner. I'm going to right click and I'm going to select create button. Again, if you do not have a right click button on your mouse, then if you touch your trackpad with two fingers at the same time, it should bring up this menu. So I'm going to do create button, and here I'm going to type in setup, S-E-T-U-P. I'm going to click on OK, and I'm going to go ahead and edit this button a little bit. I clicked on the button, I'm going to grab the square, make it a little bit smaller, and I'm going to click on the world here, and I'm going to drag it closer to my setup button. That way when I set this up, I'll have more room for my flag. Now once I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and lock my padlock back, and I'm going to go down here to my NetLogo code, click on this bar to expand it, and I'm going to go ahead and start off with, like we've done before, to setup, all one word, S-E-T-U-P, hit enter 5, 6, 7, 8 times, and I'm going to type in the word end, E-N-D, and go back up here, and underneath setup I'm going to do clear dash all, and again that changes, resets my world back to the black square, gets rid of any patch colors or any other things that I had created from previously in NetLogo. Alright, so I'm going to pay attention to the things I'm going to do here. I want you to think beforehand what you're doing. So again, on the idea, we're going to create the flag here. For most of you, what you need to look at is you'll probably do 3 diagonal stripes, and once you've created that, or sorry, 3 horizontal stripes. Once you've done your 3 horizontal stripes, then you're going to create your diagonal stripe. My suggestion is whatever your center stripe is, that's the color you want to make your background. So thinking about those steps, what I want to go ahead and do is walk you through this. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter twice. I'm going to do semicolon, semicolon, which again is that symbol next to the letter L. And here I'm going to say change square world to flag, F-L-A-G, flag proportions. Now then, the next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and change my background. So I went ahead and hit enter twice. I'm going to do semicolon, semicolon, and here I'm going to say change background color to, and I'm going to say blue for me, and for you it should be whatever your center stripes are. Now then, for you, I'm going to go ahead and type this in here so you don't forget to do it. But you should, I'm going to say create stripe 1, create, or make, we'll say make bottom stripe. You might be making a left side stripe or a right stripe. Hit enter twice, 3 times. I'm going to do make top stripe. Alright. And then I don't think anybody in here has more than one diagonal, but I'm just going to go ahead and put my diagonals there. I'm going to say make diagonal line. So I have make diagonal, I'll say stripe from bottom left to upper right. Now then, I'm going to go ahead and make another stripe, but again, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to have 2 examples here. And then this one's going to go from top left to bottom right. Alright, so now each one of these is what we got to do to create our flag, and this is always a good way of starting off writing code, is think about each step of your procedure in the order you have to do them in. Because again, if you made your stripes at the end after you created your diagonal line and then you made your stripes for your flag, then your stripes would cover up your diagonal line you created. So you got to think about the order that you're doing things in. So again, for my example, I'm not going to make these additional stripes, but you will need to do that for your assigned flag. Alright, so we've done this enough in the past, but hopefully I'm going to go ahead and mention this again. We need to look at our proportions. So if this flag was this right here, the proportions of the flag is 3 to 5. So that means for every 3 inches this way, the flag would be 5 inches this way. If it was 3 feet this way, it would be 5 feet this way. If it was 9 inches this way up and down, then it would be 15 inches this way. And again, how I do that is I just got to keep things proportional by multiplying by the same number. So if this is 3, 3 times 3 would be 9. So if this is 9 inches, then 5 times 3 would be 15, and that way it would stay proportional. It would not look distorted if I made it, if I enlarge both sides by the same factor. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and make my flag 30 by 50. And so I'm going to go to this line right here, line 5, and I'm going to say resize world. And then I got to do my X value first. I'm going to go 0 to 49 with a space there, and then 0 to 29. 0 to 29. And again, this seems a little strange, but 0 to 49 is actually 50 patches, and 0 to 29 is actually 30 patches. Again, if I'm holding up 5 fingers, and if I started counting at 0 for 5, I need to go 0 to 4, because again, first finger would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, so 5. When we start counting at 0, we got to kind of make it one less number. And then I'm going to do set patch dash size, and go ahead and make it a 10 just to make sure you're not making it too big. I'm going to hit recompile, and now what I should go is from going to the square right here. When I hit setup, it should resize itself to the dimensions of my flag, and you can see it's done that. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and go back down to my code so you can see those 2 lines, but just to make this easier, I'm going to go ahead and enlarge my screen here. Alright, so now then the next thing I'm going to do is make my background blue. And again, whatever the center stripe of your flag is, that's what I would suggest doing, but you can choose to do it how you want to. The end product is what matters. So to do this, I have to use the command ask patches, P-A-T-C-H-E-S. I'm going to do I hit enter, and then I'm going to do a starting square bracket, which is next to the letter P, ending two enders. I'm going to do an ending square bracket, and again, the purpose of the brackets is to make the start of the list and the end of the list of the things I'm asking the patches to do. Well, there's only one thing on the list that I'm wanting them to do right now, and that's set P color, which stands for patch color, to blue. And again, if you keep these kind of in line, I like keeping these two patches in line with each other, because it's ask, and then I can see that okay, everything from this starting bracket to this ending bracket is what I'm asking the patches to do. So now I'm going to recompile code, and when I come up here, it should make my patches blue, and it does. Now then, you are going to end up needing to make your stripe here, your other stripe here, and then I'm going to go ahead and come down to this where I'm making the diagonal line. To do this, there's a couple ways of doing this. I'm going to go ahead and copy this image first, and I'm going to bring it to paint, and I'm going to paste it in here, and I have this set up where it's 30 by 50, so I'm going to use the little scales on the side here. I'm going to go ahead and make this just a little bit larger there. So again, going up here, I have 0 to 5, going from here to here, 0 to 3, but as long as I'm thinking about multiplying each one of these by 10, I should be okay. Now then, the whole point of this exercise is to use that formula that you've been working on in Khan Academy and NetLogo both in some kind of application way. Instead of just doing a whole bunch of math problems, we're going to actually use this for something. So again, the slope-intercept form of an equation or an inequality is y equals mx plus b. And this is like the general format of something. So when you think about the format, it's just the way you want to have it laid out. So for us, this y and this x will always be the same, and we're going to end up using the py coordinate for that. That's the y coordinate of the patch, and then the x coordinate of the patch, the px coordinate. So the two things we're going to need to figure out is the m, which is the slope, and then the b, which is where it crosses the y intersection. So for the slope, here is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and use this little tool here to make my line so I can see it a little bit better. So I'm making my line that goes from here to here, and then my other line from here to here. But I'm going to give you a little bit of a hint here to make this easier. This stripe, I'm going to go to the very corner right here, and make the same. I'm going to go to the corner right here of my flag, and we can see that these three lines that I made run parallel to each other, and parallel means that they would run forever and never touch. So the slope of a line that's the slope of lines that are parallel have the same slope. So knowing this, I'm going to make this super easy to think about. From here to here is how far I'm going up. So if I know my flag has the proportions of 3, I know to get from this corner to this corner going up, I need to go up 3 and over 5, because this is a 3 by 5 proportion. So I'm going to go ahead and write that, and hopefully this will make sense. I'm going to say m equals 3 to 5. And what that means is for every 3 values I go up, I go over 5. So I go up 3 over 5 and back on the line. Up 3 over 5, back to the line. And again, if I think about my points right here, this corner right here would be 0, 0, right here. And then this one, just to make it easier to think about, even though it's not quite this, I'm going to go ahead and say this one is 50, 30. So in the x direction, it's 50 to get to here and 30. So this would be my slope from here to here as I'm going up 30, and then from here to here I go over 50. Well, 50, if I go up 30 over here and then 50 this way, this would be 30 over 50, which reduces to 3 over 5. And that's kind of what I started off with here. The whole idea, I just wanted to show you exactly where that came from. So my slope for this line that describes the angle of this line, the ratio of how far it goes up to how far it goes over, is 3 to 5. Now then my B part is the tricky part here, and I'm going to go ahead and go back to my line, and this is one of the things you are going to have to figure out for your own flag. But if I make this line and continue, I'm going to extend this line all the way down to here. And now I'm going to look at, if this is 0 right here, I'm going to see where it crosses. That'd be -1, -2, -3, -4. So my B for this is going to be -4. And that describes this line right here, my bottom line. I need to put my X in there. So, whoops, I'm jumping ahead here. Let me go ahead and get rid of this. That's my slope. So my B right here is -4. Let me rewrite this whole thing. Y equals 3/5 X minus 4. Now again, where I have Y, I'm going to substitute PY core in there. Where I have X, I'm going to substitute PX core in there for my equation. I'm going to go ahead and go back to NetLogo, and I have my blue background. So now I'm going to add part of my stripe here. I'm going to say ask patches, P-A-T-C-H-E-S. I'm going to hit enter, do a starting square bracket, hit enter twice, and do an ending square bracket. And then I'm going to say if py core space equals 3 space divided by space 5 times px core minus 4. If that is all true, then for my diagonal, the color of mine is going to be white. So I'm going to say set p color white. Alright, I'm going to recompile code. Oh, got a misspelling somewhere. Should px core. There we go. And I know it's spelled right now because it's turned that kind of purplish color. So the things that are purple, it knows what those mean. So I've done this, and you can see it made my little dotted lines here. So what happens here from this patch to this patch, if I go up 3 patches, 1, 2, 3, and over 5, I'll be back on the little dotted line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So up 3 over 5, up 3 over 5. That's what I'm doing here. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out so you can kind of see that. And you should have something along those lines. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to my code, and I'm going to change this equal sign. I'm going to change that to a greater than sign. So the greater than sign looks like this. And again, how I remember it's a greater than sign is I'm reading from left to right. I come to the bigger side first. So that's the greater than side. So what that's going to do, I'm going to recompile that. And what that's going to do for me is anything bigger than this line, any value greater than this line, right here, I'm going to shade white. And that's how we get our stripe starting to be made. Now my next trick is anything less than this line right here, I want that to be white. So that way if it's greater than this but less than this other line, it turns white. And this will make sense to you. So this right here is the other line I'm going to make. So again, lines that run parallel to each other have the same slope. So this is going to be y equals 3/5 x. But I've got to figure out where what my b value is. So if I look up here and I go up 0, 1, 2, 3, 4-ish maybe. I'm going to do +4 here. Alright, so basically what I'm going to say, I already have this first equation, which is anything greater than this line right here. If it has a value greater than this line, I'm making white. Now I'm going to say also it needs to be less than this line. Anything between these two lines from here to here, between these two lines, I want to make white. So I need to add this part to my code. So I'm going to go back to my code, and where I have my first line being made, I'm going to go ahead and add this. And py core, but I'm going to use the less than symbol, 3 space divided by 5 times px core plus 4. So I have that in there. I'm going to hit recompile. And now I have my stripe there. Okay. Now some of you have a stripe running this way from the top left to the bottom right. And that's going to end up being a little bit different because it's going to be a negative sign here. And let me go ahead and explain that. I'm going to use red to talk about that part now. So again, similar to what we did before, I'm going to go ahead and kind of make a line going from here to here, from one corner to the other. And looking at that red line, to get from here up here to this corner, down here to this corner, I'm going to end up going down and over. So because I'm going down, that's going to be a negative number. So to get from here to here, I'm going to go down, and I'll just kind of do the whole number here, 30. And then from here to here, I'm going over 50. So again, the y value is the top value. This is my change. I'm going to do delta. That means change. It's Greek letter delta, so triangle. I'm going to do delta y over delta x. So the difference from here to here is negative 30 because I'm going down. Down 30, and then from here to here is 50. This simplifies to negative 3 over 5. Now then, looking at to make the equation that describes this line, I'm going to do this y equals mx plus b thing. So I'm going to say y equals mx plus b, just so I can keep in mind what I'm doing. So y equals, here's my slope, negative 3/5 x plus, and now I got to figure out where it crosses. Well, again, I talked about this several different times. In most graphic art program, this top corner is 0, 0, but for us, our actual 0, 0 is down here. So this point right here is 0, 29. So in my code, and again, yours is going to be different based on what you've decided the proportions you're going to create your flag. This is my equation here for making this line right here. So I'm going to go back to my NetLogo. I'm going to go back to my code, and I'm going to start off saying ask patches, P-A-T-C-H-E-S. Hit enter, do a starting square bracket, enter twice. I hit enter twice there. I'm going to go back and say if start my parentheses, which is that shift 9, PY core is less than symbol. I'm going to do an equal sign to start off with, just so we can see the dotted line again. Equal to -3. I put the negative and 3 together. You got to do that. Space, then divided by space 5. I'm going to do times px core plus and then a space and 29, and then ending my parentheses. So you can see there's a space between each one of these things here. So space here, the -3 goes together. Again, you might have a -1, it might be a -4. I'm not for sure. Every flag is a little bit different. Now if this is true, then what I want to do is I want to set my patch color to white. So I'm going to say set P color white. And this I'm going to go ahead and compile. And what this should do for me is it's going to make that dotted line. Now then, just like I talked about before, I have my dotted line coming here. But when we go back to our flag, we can see that we want our dotted line to start down here a little bit lower. So instead of 29, I'm going to go, this is 29, this would be 28, 27, 26. So I'm going to change that to 26. So I'm going to say if it's greater than 26, I want it to be white. So that's going to shade it this way. And just like we did before, we need to, if we went down 4 this way, we're going to add 4, so because this, and I can't draw it because I run out of room here, but this is probably going to be 4 patches above there. So I'm going to say if it's greater than 26 but less than 33, we're going to make this patch white, these patches white. So I'm going to go back to my code and I'm going to say, so if it's less than, like I said, 26, already forgot, and PY core, and we're going to end up doing the same thing we have here, except we got to change this number here. I shouldn't say the same thing. We're going to change this to if it is greater than this and PY core is less than -3 space divide space 5 times, which again is that shift 8, PX core plus, and I think I said 33. Alright, got to hit recompile code and then setup, and now I have my stripe here. And again, since you guys are art students, we want to make things look a little bit nicer because you should be artists. We're going to end up changing our resolution by a factor of 10. So what I'm going to do here is change this from 0 to 49 to 0 to 500, which would actually be 0 to 499. This will be 299. Because I made this 10 times bigger, please make sure you make this 10 times smaller. So instead of 10, 10 divided by 10 would be 1. And I'm going to go ahead and show you that this is not quite where we need to be, because when we hit setup, and again this will take a little bit of time to calculate because it's doing calculations for every single patch, we'll see that our stripe is not quite right. This one goes from corner to corner because that's our slope, but it's not wide enough, and this one has the right angle, but it doesn't go corner to corner, and it's also not wide enough. So let's go back down to our code where we actually coded these. Our slope stays the same. What we need to do is go ahead and change these values, and I'm just going to go ahead and add a 0 to these because it doesn't, with this resolution here, it doesn't matter a whole lot. So I added a 0 to each one of these. I'm going to add a 0 to each one of these, and you can see it'll be a little off, but that's okay. So I multiplied those by 10. Recompile. hit setup, and now we can see we have a flag that's much more detailed and looks nice. So again, you have been assigned one diagonal stripe going one way or the other. I showed you how to make the stripe going from the bottom left to the top right, and then also from the top left to the bottom right. Your flag again has has additional stripes. I think everybody has horizontal stripes. I think maybe one or two of you might have vertical stripes. If you need help, I have office hours from 1:30 to 3 Monday through Friday, so please show up and I can help you get this done. Again, if you have everything done ahead of time, I will send you an email saying thank you, you've completed all the assignments for this week. And if you have passing grades on all the previous assignments, then I will excuse you for the rest of the class for the week. If you have all that done, I'll send you an email stating that. So again, if you need help, office hours 1:30 to 3. Thanks very much.